guys, we're back. First off, I wanted to apologize for missing last week. I had an unexpected trip out of town. I had to go a couple states away, so I wasn't able to get the video and all of that up this week or last week. And because of that, I also wasn't able to do both chapters. So our schedules kind of changed a little bit. We're going to talk about chapter 2 this week. And then next week we will do 3 and 4 and so on. So it's going to kind of change a little bit, and we're going to push it out one extra week. So just wanted to let you guys know. And again, I apologize that got kind of crazy. For those of you who are following along, I greatly apologize. But let's move on into our next chapter. We are talking about chapter 2, which is titled, Is There a Cause? And I loved this chapter. It was fantastic. This basically is talking about our boys and their desire for adventure. And I don't know about you, but my boy certainly is that way. I mean, even my old boy, my husband, he's still that same way. And I love how, they talk about boys as seeming reckless because they love adventure. And it talks a lot about how we need to hone in and teach our boys how to be able to channel that to do good for Christ and to do His work. And they talk about a couple of stories in this chapter. One being, they reference it to boys driving fast. That's just kind of that stigma. Boys have a higher insurance rate because they're fast drivers and they get into car accidents a whole lot more than girls do. And one of the stories they had talked about in the chapter was a boy that Hal knew when they were in college, who had a broken ankle from a skydiving accident. And then a year later, he had died in another skydiving accident. And it's, one of those things they had said, it begs the question, was he doing this to maybe pursue something further in life, in a career, or was he just seeking thrills? And our job as mothers and as their parents is to help these boys, like I said, hone in that energy, that desire for adventure, and to help them channel it to do something good, something for Christ that's going to further His kingdom. And the reason why I really loved this chapter and why it really touched me was because a prayer of mine and my husband's that we pray all the time over our son and our daughters is that they would be willing to die for their faith. And I know that may seem extreme to some, but it really isn't. We want them, if they're going to do something dangerous and something reckless, we want it to be for Christ and for His kingdom. And we also want our children to be so rooted in their faith and in their belief of Christ that they are willing to lay down their own physical lives to further His kingdom. And I just think that that's such a wonderful thing to instill in our children and into our son, especially because he does have that desire for adventure. And so we want him to understand that desire comes from Christ and it's there for a reason. But what do we do with it? How do we cultivate it? And how do we proceed with it to help glorify Him? So that's something that we go through and we talk about a lot. And right now our son is 10. And so he's definitely at that age where he really does want to branch out and try new things. He wants to build these crazy gadgets that, that could deem reckless if he's not careful and could hurt himself. And we don't want to prohibit him from doing that. And we don't want to tell him that, oh no, that's silly. You can't do that. Are you crazy? You'll hurt yourself. We want to be able to say, yes, I think that's a great idea. But let's think about these steps. Think about how this is beneficial. Think about what we can do to stay safe in doing that. And we kind of talk about these things and talk about these steps. And, sorry, she was a little fussy if I'm not holding her. So we have a little visitor. Where was I? I'm sorry. But anyway, so our goal and our focus is to really show him how to cultivate these desires that he has and show him how he can use them to glorify God and how he can draw others, especially boys, to that same place to say, hey guys, let's think about this. We want them to be able to be adventurous and to go exploring and to, for them to explore the unknown. But we want them to be safe, and we want them to be smart, and we want them to be faithful, and most of all, prayerful. And so we encourage that a lot. We encourage a lot of prayer and say, you know what does God say about this? Have you talked to him? Have you prayed about it? And that kind of thing. And that way we're not deterring him from it, and we're not making him think that we think he can't do it. But that way I think it kind of helps him as he gets to be an adult, that he's going to say, oh, I really want to do this, but you know what? I need to pray about it and talk to God first. And that's going to give him that pause to reflect on his actions, as opposed to just recklessly diving forward and doing it without any thought and without any concern. And that right there can be the undoing of anything he wants to do, because he's not thinking, and because he's not praying about it, and he's not seeking God's direction. And so this chapter talks all about that. It talks about how we can help our boys cultivate that desire for adventure into something that's responsible, and into something that is using their intelligence. So I strongly encourage you to read this. It's chapter 2, titled Is There a Cause? And it's such a great read, especially for those moms who do have what seem like reckless boys who just want to go out there without any care or thought and just dive in and do it. It's a great chapter. And so, again, I recommend it. I recommend this whole book. It's just awesome. I love it. So if you're just now joining us, I encourage you just to pick up where we are. You don't have to read in the beginning. I encourage you to follow along with us, and then at your own pace, you can go back and read the beginning, because all of it is worth a read, or two worth a read. It's just such a great book, filled with so much truth and so much wisdom. So thank you so much for joining me today. And again, I greatly apologize we missed last week, but we are hopefully going to be on a normal schedule now. And I look forward to meeting with you guys next week. And I really look forward to reading in the comments what you all have to say about this chapter. Thanks so much for joining, and I will see you guys next Friday.